Hello everyone, my name is Sarah Skelly and I'm a park ranger with THPRD, and I'm going to talk about one of my favorite topics, blackberries. We have two types of blackberries in the Beaverton area. We have the trailing blackberry, which is pictured right next to me here, and we also have the Himalayan blackberry, which we'll check out in a minute. Most people are only familiar with the Himalayan blackberry, and both produce really delicious berries that are going to be ripe at the end of summer. So I wanted to make sure that you were prepared to recognize these plants. The trailing blackberry, you'll notice it kind of just falls over the plants. It's not super dense, and it doesn't tend to suffocate out other plants that want to grow. Let's go take a look at the Himalayan blackberry. So if you start looking around, you'll probably have seen a lot of these big giant hedges of blackberry. Now these produce really delicious berries, but they also can be a problem in the ecosystem. Notice that's all that you see right in here. There's nothing else growing underneath it. This plant is considered invasive, so we spend a lot of time removing the Himalayan blackberry to make room for other plants to grow. We're going to learn to tell the difference between the two. Follow me, we'll take a closer look. All right, so here we are with some close-up samples of the two blackberries. How do we tell the difference? So this one is our native trailing blackberry. So we'll start with this one. So if you've ever picked blackberries, you've probably walked away with lots of scratches. Now, both blackberries have sets of thorns. The trailing blackberry, I can grab with my hand. Now it still hurts a little bit, still a little bit pokey, but the thorns are kind of wimpy and I can almost break them with my bare fingers. The Himalayan blackberry, on the other hand, I'm not even going to try to put my hand around it. They have very hefty, sturdy thorns that are pretty thick, almost like claws. Okay, so that's one difference. The next difference is if you take a look at the stem. So the stem of the trailing blackberry is round, and sometimes it's green, sometimes it's kind of got a silverish, almost like a tarnish to it. The stem of the Himalayan blackberry, however, is, if you take a close-up look at it, it's angular. It's not round like the trailing blackberry. And if you cut it, which we do a lot of cutting of the invasive blackberry, it's almost got a pentagonal shape to it. Generally, the Himalayan blackberry stem at first is green, but then it seems to turn to a purplish color when it's in the sun and the older it gets. This one's a little bit purple, it looks like right here. Okay, so we've got the wimpy thorns of the trailing versus the hefty thorns of the Himalayan blackberry. And then we've got the round stem of the trailing versus the angular stem of the Himalayan blackberry. Now finally, the leaves are a good giveaway. So the trailing blackberry, the leaves come in sets of 3. Okay, the Himalayan blackberry, when it's full grown, and I'll just peel this away, come in sets of 5. Okay, sometimes when the Himalayan blackberry, when it's a younger leaf, it will be in sets of 3. So it can be a little confusing. That's when I look at the thorns in the stem. But when it's fully grown, it should come in a set of 5. Finally, you can see the flowers starting to blossom on the trailing blackberry. Now these blackberries do produce a pretty tasty berry. So I encourage you to go out and try these once they are in season in the summer. Now the best way to prevent the Himalayan blackberry from spreading is to eat the berries. One last thing about the trailing blackberry. So generally we have this saying that goes, leaves of 3, let it be. Now, what's the other plant that has leaves of 3 that we don't want to get anywhere close to? Poison oak. Check out our website for a video about poison oak and how to identify it. When I'm looking at this plant, the reason I know it's not poison oak is because poison oak does not have thorns. This plant has thorns. So that tells me it's the trailing blackberry. Okay, so that's it for the quick lesson on the 2 blackberries that we have out here in Beaverton. I challenge you next time you're out on the trail or in a neighborhood or in a park, see if you can find the trailing blackberry or native blackberry. You'll start to see the Himalayan blackberry kind of everywhere on the sides of the roads and the highways. But I challenge you to try to find this native blackberry next time you're out in the forest or in your neighborhood. Thanks folks, and we'll see you on the trail.